Hi, Kyle. Come under the cover with me.
Under the cover with me?
Under the cover. The Climax books. Gotta get back to what I'm doing now. So looking at this book reminds me of my first meeting with David, which took place at Universal Studios on the back lot in one of the small bungalows. And these were bungalows that had been around for years and years. Alfred Hitchcock had a bungalow there. Billy Wilder wrote from there. And this is where I met David. And our first meeting, he had just come from Bob's Big Boy. So I was sitting waiting for him. This was the first time I was in Los Angeles, first time ever meeting a director, first time for everything for me. And he came in and he was so friendly, made me feel so comfortable straight away. And we sat and we talked in this little office for about 20 or 30 minutes about everything but the movie. Didn't even talk about Dune until the very end when he handed me the script, and very thick script, and said, there's 5 scenes in here. I want you to learn them and come back in a couple of days and we'll do a screen test. And I was like, great, happy, yeah, absolutely. I didn't know what a screen test was. I'd never been in front of a camera. So I went back home to Seattle, finished up my work on the play that I was doing there, and flew back down after learning the scenes. And we screen tested and it went really well. So well that they cast me. Look what I opened to. There he is, in the closet, watching things he shouldn't see. This was my second film with David. It was Blue Velvet. It kind of started my career back again after Dune. Dune was not well received when it was released, and I was struggling a little bit, but Blue Velvet kind of put me back on track, and it was David who cast me as Jeffrey. I was forever grateful. So, come on, who doesn't want to kiss Isabella Rossellini, right? Dun, dun, dun. Yes, Dune. This is my original copy. So paperback, I think this is the first edition, and this has seen some mileage. I used to spell my name with an MC. I don't know if you can see that right there. I was given this book by my friend Jim when I was about 14, 15 years old. It took me about 3 times to get past page 60, but once I did, I was all in. And I would read it every couple of years. It was so important to me. And cut to a few years later, I was 23 in my apartment in Seattle, my little one-room apartment. And I got a call on my Panasonic recording machine, saying that they were coming to town to cast for the role of Paul in this movie Dune. One thing led to another, and I ended up doing the first film. So there you go. I wanted to be Paul, so I identified with him so much. He was like my hero. So this book has a very deep place in my heart. This is a very interesting book because it talks about directors and the style and how they dress. And David was so specific. He wore pretty much the same look every day that I knew him. It was a white shirt, collared shirt, buttoned up, and then usually tan pants, sometimes black pants, but tan pants, pleated, black shoes, and then he would often have a black jacket that he would wear over the top. And this was his look for as long as I knew him. But it was very minimal, and he just said he didn't want to waste time thinking about how he was going to dress for the day. He just wanted to get up, and it was very utilitarian. He just said, I'm going to wear this, and then I always know what I'm going to wear. I can think more about what I'm creating that day. So every ounce of his energy went into the creative journey. You can see in some of this book, in particular the one from Dune there, I think you see him with a white shirt, the tan pants, and he's talking to Francesca Annis and Dean Stockwell on the set of Dune. And he never changed. In fact, I started to dress like him. Where he's so influential, he had such an impact on me. And the character of Jeffrey are variations on what David would wear. Miss that man, he's pretty special. I have always been a reader since I was a little kid, and I cut my teeth on the Hardy Boys. I have 2 brothers, so I could relate to their investigative skills. And strangely enough, I think it may have set me on the path of this investigator life that I've lived in front of the camera, from Blue Velvet, Curiosity, to Twin Peaks being the FBI agent. But this really started it off. There were a lot of crazy things that happened on the set of Twin Peaks. The shoot itself of the pilot was really challenging because we were filming outdoors, and it was the winter in Western Washington, where it was rainy and cold and not very nice. So filming was challenging. But once we got into the studio, then all manner of things began to happen. And one of the craziest moments for me was we were working, and for some reason there was an alpaca that was walking through the set at one moment, and I don't even know why the alpaca was there, but he decided at the moment to stop and look at me in the face as I was talking to Mike Onkeen, and I looked straight back into the alpaca's eyes, and then he continued on through the scene, and I continued on with the scene with Michael, and I knew in my head that if I stopped, this potentially great moment would be lost, so we just kept going with it, and then of course when they yelled cut, everybody broke down in laughter and everything, but just a weird story. Alpacas, what do you know? The people in Japan were so ecstatic about Twin Peaks, loved Twin Peaks so much that the fans would put together these magazines, which I'd heard about, but here I am seeing them for real. I don't even remember where these were taken. Here I am reading a magazine that they gave to me. I have no idea. You just do stuff. When you're in Japan, you just do stuff. One of my favorite experiences was shooting this flamethrower. I got to really shoot a flamethrower. They let me do it. That probably wouldn't happen now, unless you're Tom Cruise, and you can shoot a flamethrower. And then with David Bowie, I remember shooting that in Twin Peaks. That was the Fire Walk with Me, and David was great. My God. This was actually me on tour for Dune, and I remember that sweater. It was a Giorgio Armani sweater that I was very proud of. I had a fashion time back in the 90s, and really, really loved Comme des Garçons. And this is sort of close to what I had, sort of this knit stuff that was kind of distressed. So I had a lot of the clothes from Comme des Garçons. They were really wonderful, and after a while I decided, you know what, I have all these clothes, and I actually sold them to someone who I knew would be really, really grateful. And might actually wear them because I'd stopped wearing them, but it was beautiful. Oh, Azzedine Alaya. He could speak English, but he wouldn't speak English. So he would just pretend. But he was very lovely. Anyway, okay. I have a career because of David. He really believed in me, really strongly. But really, I think it was more how he made me feel, and he gave me confidence, and I think in return, I offered him sort of a stability within his films, like an anchor point. So when you watch his films, it's just, I'm kind of in the center of the hurricane, the eye of the storm, so to speak. And he recognized that in me very early on. And I've just recently come to realize it. He's very, very much alive in my memory. And I can hear his voice, I can see his face, and I can remember what it's like to be working with him as an actor, and he was my director. And he was a very special man, and a very brilliant man, and a very special friend.